Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of For the Love of Film, the series where I talk to different people about their love of film and what sparked it in the first place. And today I am joined by Sawyer Sabol. Sawyer, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hello there, everyone. It's good to be back. I also do a YouTube channel where I talk about movies, games. I do video game compilations and other miscellaneous stuff. But it's good to be on your channel again, Aaron, because we've had some good collabs in the past. So,
So for those of you that have been following my channel for long enough, you will probably recognize Sawyer from some of the collabs we did a few years ago. We did quite a few round about like the COVID lockdown years, but we haven't done one for a while, have we?
yeah, if I remember, I think the last one we did was we did two videos on your channel and mine for the
Yeah.
Marvel year in 2021, where they
Mm.
had so much. I think that
Mm.
was the last one. I could be missing one, but I think that was the last one we did.
Yeah, I'm currently looking at my channel, and I think that is the last thing we did because obviously the year before that, Marvel hadn't released anything, and then in 2021 they've released a
Like
lot
a
of films.
tsunami of everything came out that year, man.
Yeah, there was like five shows, four films, and it was like, whoa, okay, we're getting a lot of stuff. So we kind of came together and was like, you know what, we might as well do two videos. Something I'm really happy with. I'm still really happy with how those videos turned out.
Oh
If you
yeah.
want to check them out, there's a summary of all the films on my channel, and then there's a summary of all the TV shows on Sawyer's channel. So if you watch one, then go to the other's channel and watch the other one. But yeah, that is the last time we collabed, which was blimey, that was a year ago, roughly, like about a year ago. Blimey.
It was either I think it was at the beginning of 2022. So
Mm,
yeah, a minute ago.
yeah, it feels like ages ago. Blimey. So, I'm going to start things off relatively simple with a question that I ask everyone, and that is what is the most recent film that you've seen that you absolutely loved? It can be a new release, an old release. Just what's the first thing that comes to mind?
Well, yes. So like I know this is gonna sound pretty obvious for me, but it has to be Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3
Yeah.
because I am a huge Marvel guy and I still try to see everything they put out. I mean, I've been slacking with on the show department. I didn't
Mm,
watch Secret Invasion, but I mean, Guardians 3 I had to see it in the theater because
mm,
of just the ending of like it's like people were making jokes about how this was like they're finally free from watching Marvel. This was the last thing anyone cared about, and they were doing that. And they're maybe not so wrong because
mm,
this is like these group of characters you love them so much, and
mm,
you James Gunn puts his heart and soul into these, and seeing the story play out, it felt like an experience,
mm,
and I really it was like a swan song for James Gunn since we all know he's going to DC, but that
mm,
movie was so emotional. It was funny at the same time.
mm,
It was just a great movie. And yeah, another one that I have to mention is Oppenheimer
mm. Oh yeah.
because that movie I've never seen a movie like that where it was a sold like I saw it on a Tuesday and it was sold out.
Mm,
Everyone was engaged, everyone was hyped. And this is supposed to be like a historical drama for adults.
mm.
And the fact that Nolan's able to sell it as like a blockbuster for like all ages to watch, it's incredible. He's a phenomenal director
Mm.
because what an experience to watch that in a sold out theater. It's wild.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned out of the two, I'm glad you mentioned Guardians of the Galaxy because that I've seen quite a few. I've not seen many films this year, but I've seen quite a large amount. And no matter what I've seen, Guardians Volume 3 has still somehow stayed in my top five of the year because no film before, this isn't an exaggeration, by the way. I was crying from the moment it started to the moment it ended, and I've not had that with any other film because at least with other sad films, there are specific moments where you cry. Whereas Guardians 3, as soon as the logo came up and Radiohead's Creep started playing, I was like, okay, I'm gone. I'm just started crying, and then the whole time I was just in pieces. But it's
Or
very it's a satisfying end as well, I think.
that's how I reason I could see that is because animals are so people love animals, and
Mm,
and that was the main focus that they were going with with
mm,
Rocket Story. And also I think that's really what got the emotional parts out for people,
mm.
even though when you really think about it, like everyone, like no one, I can say spoilers, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
It's been out for
no
long
one,
enough.
none of them. Okay, none of the main cast dies, and they all get semi, happy endings and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's just the journey that you go through,
Mm,
and with characters, that's what was so
mm,
emotional and all. And some of the most, like, some of the acting in that movie was,
mm.
I don't think I've ever seen like raw emotion like that in a big type of blockbuster like that. Because,
Yeah.
like, wow, it was a great movie.
Yeah. No, I as soon as you said that, actually, the first thing I have in my head is Chris Pratt just screaming like that
Man,
one bit is
I
just
knew from that trailer. I knew from that trailer, but I didn't. I knew what I knew the context, because
Mm,
what else would the context be? Like it was a giveaway.
yeah.
But just seeing it play out, I was like, wow. Like I see those topics on people ask who's the best Chris. It's
Mm,
him. He's my favorite Chris. I'm so, like, come on now. We've never seen the
mm,
other Chris's do something like that.
mm. Yeah, you got a good point there. But yeah, I love Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. I think the other reason why it was so emotional for me anyway is like throughout, as well as the whole animal aspect, throughout the whole film you feel like someone's going to die. Like there's always just a feeling from the moment it starts to the moment it ends, like someone's, like you just know someone, you're not sure who, but someone is probably going to die at some point. But like you said, I was kind of happy that no one did die, and they just kind of gave them the endings they deserved rather than just killing one of them off. Um, Plus, it was just nice to see James Gunn finally finish his story. Yeah, and also just Oppenheimer's brilliant as well. That is still my favorite film of the year, but Killers of the Flower Moon is like a very, very close second.
I'm holding out hope for Oppenheimer at the awards season. I
Mm,
really think it can do it, because I
mm,
remember seeing, during the dreaded strikes that was
yeah.
going on, I saw that Dune was they delayed it,
Mm,
and and a lot of people were saying this might be a blessing in disguise for Oppenheimer, because they were probably pulling the same type of voting audience,
yeah.
because they're both similar in terms of big blockbuster type
Mm,
awards play. So that might have helped Oppenheimer maybe either get more nominations or maybe some wins, because
mm,
I remember the first Dune didn't win like Best Picture or anything, but it won
no.
a lot of technical stuff that Oppenheimer can probably win now.
Mm. Yeah, no, I think it is definitely a shoe in for a lot of the big categories, and the two I'm holding out for is Cillian Murphy for actor and Christopher Nolan for director, because every single time Christopher Nolan releases a film, he gets close but never quite like he
Yes.
gets nominated and you're like he's not going to win because so and so is going to win or vice versa. But this year, I think he might actually have a chance.
So this is wild. So I remember when people were talking about the awards, I could be wrong, I could be misremembering, but
Hmm.
I think he's only been nominated once for Best Director, and that was for Dunkirk. He's
Yeah.
never been nominated for Inception or Interstellar, and that's wild to think about. Like
Hmm.
only once he's been nominated for Best Director. His movies have been nominated for Best Picture
Hmm.
before, like
Hmm.
Inception, but not for him directing the film. So it's very interesting. I also want to say I
Hmm.
can't pronounce the guy's name. The guy who did Black Panther. His score in this movie,
Oh,
it's
Ludwig
insane.
Göransson. Yeah.
Yes, because his music is going off and being all
Hmm.
dramatic and all during talking scenes, and
Hmm.
you feel like I gotta pay attention. What's happening here? And the music was just
Hmm.
it's crazy. Like everything just came together, because
Hmm.
I thought Robert Downey Jr. also
Oh
was
yeah.
phenomenal. I think he should get nominated for sure.
Yeah. I'd love to see him get a nomination, and I totally agree with you about the score. I think out of any film I've seen this year, yeah, actually, yeah, out of any film I've seen this year, the Oppenheimer score is the one that I just keep coming back to, like listening to
Yeah.
specific pieces. And as soon as I hear like certain tracks, it just puts me right back into the scene that's from. Anyway, I'm interested to know, because of your work on YouTube, what got you into YouTube in the first place? Like, what inspired you to start doing YouTube, and what has been your driving force for keep doing it over the years?
So I want to say the main thing that wanted me to do YouTube
Mm,
is I think I could be misremembering, but I'm pretty sure it was, seeing, Corey, ironically enough, seeing his channel and seeing he
mm,
do his reviews, and we
mm,
got the, texting and stuff, and I'm like, I think I can maybe do this. And
yeah,
then once I started doing reviews, I just felt it as a way to, express my opinion and just get it out there, whether
mm,
people agree or not. And it was like a nice little hobby that I started to do. And I think it's pretty
mm,
cool that I may not post as much as I used to, but the fact that I'm still doing it all these years later, I think that's kind of a testament. And I like that.
mm,
So it's kind of just a way to express my opinion, even
mm,
if not a lot of people watch it and all. It's just to have it out there. Maybe someone does check it out and someone
mm,
does like it. So I
mm,
think that's really cool. And so
mm. Because come to think of it, you and me, and even Corey as well, we've roughly been doing it about the same amount of time, and I think we all became aware of each other's channels about the same time as well. I might be misremembering, but I do remember, like, I think we all popped up around the same time, and then we gradually, like, oh, you know Corey from his videos, and I know Sawyer because you know Corey, and we, yeah, it's been interesting how we've all kind of evolved like in the same span of time, which I think is quite interesting. And I also was also interested to know, while we're sticking on the topic of YouTube, what has been your favorite aspect of doing your YouTube channel over the years? And I'm presuming this is something that might have changed, because for those of you that don't know Sawyer's channel, he kind of dabbles in stuff other than film as well. So like sometimes it's about games, sometimes it's about animation stuff. So I'm interested to know what your favorite aspect is about doing your channel.
Yeah, so one aspect that I can really think of that I think is really cool is that there's a bit of unexpectancy, if that's how you say it,
Hmm.
on what videos perform well, like what videos really
Hmm.
click with the audience. And when I look at my most popular videos,
Hmm.
none of them are on movie reviews. Only one is on a movie review, and that
Hmm.
was the one I did with my sister a long time ago for a little film. You may not have heard of it, called Coco. That it's been memed a lot by
Hmm.
people that I know and all because of how like we were just having fun. We loved the film and we were just
Hmm.
chatting, and it got over 1,000 views. I think that was my first video to do that,
Hmm.
and that was before I had good thumbnail quality where you
Hmm.
saw the black bars. That was before I had the mic,
Hmm.
and and even besides that, like some of my video game stuff, like my earlier ones, like
Yeah.
about Dead by Daylight and all, they got a couple hundred views.
Hmm.
This one I did about this manga called Beastars, how the ending was garbage and trash,
Hmm.
and I ranted about that. My most popular video at over 6,000. I never
Hmm.
thought I would ever get something that high,
Yeah.
but some other reviews have surprised me. Like I did one for, excuse me, I did one for Princess and the Frog,
Hmm.
and I just did it because I was like, well, I have nothing to really do, and
Yeah.
there was some anniversary around or whatever. I don't remember. It was a while ago, and that got a couple hundred views. And I'm like, I was just like, I love the unexpectancy of what videos perform well. Days
Yeah.
Gone, this game that
Hmm.
came out and no one really talked about, and it got bad reviews and all. I
Yeah.
reviewed it when it came out for free, and I got it. And I'm like,
Hmm.
this was a fun game, and
Hmm.
everyone loved that video. So
Hmm.
I that's my main draw to keep making them is what's gonna click with more of the audience. Like, what do
Hmm.
they agree with and all, and maybe we can start conversation. So that's my main
Hmm.
drive-in focus, I feel.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that, and I think I mentioned something similar on the episode that Ayush was on of this. Is that like you can put? I know definitely from experience with my videos is that like I can put my heart and soul into one specific video, and I'll be so happy with how it's turned out, and no one will watch it. But then
Yeah.
there'll be another video that like you kind of put less effort into, and it'll be like, oh yeah, I'll just do a video on this thing, and that like outdoes every other video on your channel. and I compared to all the ones you put like time and effort into, and I give up trying to find what does well with my channel because I'm just like I'm just gonna make what I make, what what I want to do, and if it does well, that's great. But like for example, I think I've mentioned this to you before, but one of my most viewed videos for a long period of time
Oh yeah.
was a review for a film called Bottom of the World, which it was one of those films where I watched it, did a review, and then forgot about it, and it was not a very good movie from what I remember. And I still get comments on it to this day. I think it's got like 16,000 views.
It has a lot, yeah. I remember when
Yeah.
we first talked about this and I looked it up and I'm like, wow.
Mm.
And not even the poster looks good at all. Like the
No.
movie just doesn't look creative, right? And I'm like, why is that that's the thing. Why are these the type of videos?
Mm.
Like another one I just thought of. There was this video game called The Walking Dead,
Yeah.
and it's from Telltale. You know how they do the story narrative type
Yeah.
games?
Yeah. Yeah.
They did a a big bundle where they put all of their, the
Mm.
4 seasons of Michonne as one game,
Mm.
and I remember I got it for Christmas, like, I got it because it was, like, a sale or whatever, and I'm
Yeah.
like I played it, I'm like, "Maybe I could do a video for this."
Mm.
Less than 5 minutes, I barely I just did it to do the video just to get something out there, and it
Yeah.
has almost 500 views. So,
Mm.
I don't know. I didn't even try on that one really, so
Yeah. It really doesn't make any sense because like I'm looking at the poster for that Bottom of the World now, and I mean I can barely remember anything about that film. But I don't even think the posters. I don't even think the posters like relevant. Like the image on the poster has nothing to do with what happens in the movie, which which just makes it even more baffling. Like
Yeah.
my three most viewed videos, two of those three make somewhat a bit of sense. Like my most viewed video at the moment is my top 100 favorite movies video, where it's like a montage of my favorite films, and that's got 29,000, which still baffles me. But even that makes sense. And then there's another one about a TV show called Inside Number Nine, which has got a cult following. So again, that makes sense. But Bottom of the World, just it doesn't need 17,000 views. It really doesn't. It
You
just
got me wanting to look at my most popular videos now since we're talking about that. All right. Literally, I'm looking at this right now. So, looking at it, I only have 4 videos
mm,
hit over 1,000,
mm,
and I've had some come close, but the 4 that hit over 1,000 was that Beastars one, that manga thing I was telling you about,
yeah.
which, I mean, I just think that's very funny. 2020 was a great year for me because
Mm.
3 of my most popular videos were all in the span of like a month.
Oh damn.
So the Beastars one, The Last of Us Part 2 unboxing the collector's edition,
Yep.
2.6K. I don't know
Damn.
why. I don't know why.
Well,
Uh,
people do love an unboxing video. I found that
they
over the
do. I
years.
have
Yeah.
learned that because I'm not even that good at doing the how I film it and all, but I don't
Mm.
know.
Like I said earlier, I've got to a point where I just do videos that I want to make, and I do them on topics that I want to talk about. And if they do well, that's great. I mean, this For the Love of Film series, it's done all right. But to be honest, I enjoy doing it, and I want to keep doing it because I enjoy the variety of the people that I'm able to get on here. Like one week, it's someone I know from YouTube, like you or Corey, and then another week it can be like a professional critic, and I love having that variety. So I just enjoy doing what I do, and if they perform well, that's great.
Yeah, maybe this will
So
be the one.
yeah, no, I mean it might do. I'm always hoping that one of these episodes like really outperforms the others, and then that starts getting people to watch the previous episodes
The
because
previous episode, yeah, a
yeah,
domino effect.
because every episode of For the Love of Film I've done so far, I've been so happy with how they've turned out, and I just want more people to start watching them. Um, but again, if that happens, great. If it doesn't, I'll keep doing them anyway.
Yeah, it's no
So
harm.
yeah, yeah. So in terms of your the videos you do on YouTube and whenever you do specifically talk about film, are there any specific elements about film that you focus on specifically when talking about it? Like, do you focus on the cinematography, the acting, I don't know, CGI. Is there anything in particular like you hone in on?
Uh, yeah, I try to at least go over every aspect of it at least once in my video
Mm,
because I'm unscripted. I just go off what I feel. And I
mm,
think I see that as being more authentic and all instead of having to read off the script.
yeah.
So I try to touch upon, you know, the score, the performances, the story, what I
Mm,
liked and didn't. And then I've noticed the thing I would do is at the end I'd be like, it has great characters, it has blah 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 blah, and
mm,
I just kind of listed off at the end there in case I missed something when I was talking throughout the video.
yeah.
So I kind of do a more loosey based
Mm,
type of style, but I try to at least mention the main parts of
mm,
when talking about the said movie or show or whatever.
mm. Again, that's something I find really interesting because when I've spoken to a couple people on this series already that do YouTube based stuff like we do, and everyone has a different approach. Like I know Corey heavily scripts his stuff. I personally write. I like have an idea for a video in my head, and then I use that as the basis of like, okay, I'm going to talk about this, and in my head I kind of have a tick list of like I need to cover that, that, and that. But similar to you, I kind of use that as the basis, and then just let whatever happens happen. But then I know other people where they kind of do a mishmash of like they have a list and they improvise or they have it heavily scripted. And I just find that interesting that we all do the same thing, but we have severely different approaches to the same thing. And I find that just really interesting.
Yeah, definitely.
So, coming away from YouTube and talking about just specifically your love of film and your interest in film as well, if you can remember at all, uh, what was the first or one of the first films that you can clearly remember being the thing that sparked your love for cinema in the first place?
Ooh, so the I guess not just a film in general, but like just these different types of big franchises that I would watch, like the
Mm,
Indiana Jones series, Star Wars,
mm,
Harry Potter. Like these are big ones where you cared about these characters and you wanted to keep seeing them in these different adventures and all.
mm,
So those type of stuff, even one-offs like Jaws, like mostly Spielberg basically, because he's made so many vastly different films but
yeah.
yet they all just are perfect, especially his earlier ones.
Mm,
E.T., Back to the Future. Like, there's just so many good
mm,
different films, not just from him, but like just those
yeah.
earlier films I can really think of.
Mm,
So, and of course, like the earlier, like Sam Raimi Spider-Man films, like the
mm,
early comic book film before we really got into the mesh of all this different stuff. So,
mm.
just seeing all these different types of films growing up was really nice.
Yeah, I think in terms of getting into film, I feel like Spielberg's a good starting point because he's got such a varied career. Like he's got the big blockbusters like Jaws, like E.T., like Indiana Jones, but then he's got like these very down to earth dramas like Saving Private Ryan and Munich and blimey, I could go on for days talking about his catalog, but I feel like if anyone is going to get into film, he's the best one to start with
Oh yeah,
because there's just so much variety. Plus, like you said, the franchises are also a good way as well because like you have that longevity and you can get to care about them over. Like I think Harry Potter is probably the best example of that because you really do
you
care
literally
about the
see them grow
yeah
up.
yeah, you get to know them in the start, and then you follow them throughout all eight films, and you get to know and love them. And by the time it ends, you feel like you've gone through the same journey they have because you've been with them for like over a decade with with that amount of films.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, no, that's an interesting answer because I've had some people say like Lord of the Rings, and some other people say other stuff, but yeah, I never really thought of it like that in terms of the big franchises because again, you can watch the bigger films and then you can kind of I know what I mean when I say this, but I'm probably going to butcher it. Is like you can use your love of like the big blockbusters to then kind of seek out other stuff that you might not
Mm.
necessarily. And again, I guess Spielberg's a good one to go with as well. Like you watch one of his serious dramas, and then it kind of makes you want to go. Actually, I want to watch a film similar to Saving Private Ryan. I might watch Hacksaw Ridge, or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, it's what you were saying there. It's interesting because, like, with Spielberg, he's like his big films that are considered blockbusters and like crowd pleasers were
Mm.
also awards films, right?
Oh yeah.
Jaws was nominated. Indiana Jones, I was
Mm.
shocked. Raiders of the Lost Ark was nominated for Best Picture. E.T. was nominated. Like
Yeah.
I don't know why they steered away from that in
Mm.
the recent years for the shows because so many big movies that they just look down upon it all. I'm like, these are great films,
Mm.
and you just don't acknowledge them. Like the last great big blockbuster I can think of was Titanic back in '97. One
Yeah.
of my all-time favorite films. It won everything basically,
Mm.
except like one award. And I'm like, that was like a great film there. And they never tend to nominate the big films that everyone
Mm.
agrees is deserving. So I just think that's just baffling to
Mm.
me.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. Because even in the years after Titanic, I think like the only other example I can think of is maybe Return of the King, Lord of the Rings, which was
I'm,
like,
yeah,
yeah, because I think that did the same thing Titanic did, where it won every,
pretty
it
much
won,
everything. Yeah,
yeah, yeah, and there hasn't really been a film since those two that's been on a massive scale that's done well at the box office, but has also, I genuinely can't think of anything. Yeah, no,
yeah. If we
that's
just look at
impressive.
yeah, if we just look at like I think 2019 was the last year that could have done that. I
Mm,
mean, I'm happy for Parasite and all, don't get me wrong.
mm,
But you had Joker in the run in.
yeah,
You had like that was the main box office one, but there was other ones that did
mm,
really well. I could have sworn Jojo
mm,
Rabbit I thought did pretty well financially. Ford v
mm,
Ferrari I thought did like a lot of those films. That was just a great year because so many of them did pretty solid.
mm.
So
Yeah, yeah. No, I think 2019 is a good shout, and I think 2017 as well, when you had like Dunkirk, and I guess the others really weren't that sort of blockbuster level, like shape, but like Dunkirk's a good example.
Dunkirk, we have one. If there's one movie that'll do well, it's the war movie, at least financially. Because
Yeah,
Hacksaw Ridge, I thought did pretty well also.
because I was
And
thinking
that
to
was
the
good.
I was thinking to the 2017 lineup, and I was like, "Oh, hang on a minute, Lady Bird's not really a big blockbuster. Neither is The Shape of Water. I've really
Or Three Billboards. Yeah.
yeah, I kind of screwed myself with that one.
2018 though. 2018 you have Black Panther,
mm,
which I still think that was funny that that got nominated over Spider-Verse. That was just stupid.
yeah,
But besides that, you have Bohemian Rhapsody, which also was a huge
yeah,
juggernaut financially. So those
mm,
are two big ones I can think of that year.
yeah.
And
That's a good example actually. Yeah, didn't think of that.
there might be a third, but I remember 2018 was kind of a soft year for the awards type movies. So that's how
Mm,
you saw these bigger films get the chance to be nominated. I
mm,
mean, so I just think that's why I'm wondering what this year's going to shape out to be. Because
mm.
if there is 10 nominees for this, I know I'm sorry, we're going over to Oscar talk, but uh, if this year, like with all some of the
mm,
stuff being delayed, I wonder
yeah.
what will get nominated. Because earlier in the year, they were talking about Spider-Verse maybe getting nominated. No one's
Mm.
been talking about it though. But do you think it has a chance to get nominated?
I mean, I genuinely think it could. But I mean, this is coming from someone who's like been to a film festival, and I've seen some of the more like artsy drama stuff that might have a chance of just sneaking in there at the last minute. In terms of like the bigger films, I would say Spider Verse is probably like the best chance of like a big film that's not Oppenheimer or not.
Yeah, because Oppenheimer's getting it, and it made more money too.
Hmm. Yeah, no, that is true. I feel like the three films that I can guarantee are gonna get nominated regardless are probably Oppenheimer, Killers of the Flower Moon, and
Barbie,
yeah, probably Barbie. Like
unfortunately.
I was gonna say Bradley Cooper's Maestro as well, because I had the chance to see that at London Film Festival, and it is so good. It is
Okay.
it's so. That side note: when Maestro drops on Netflix in December, everyone go and watch it. It's so good. it's
What about
such a good film.
the Killer? David
Uh
Fincher. I heard that was
I
good.
right. I'm one of the few people that like wasn't a fan of it, which is
Okay.
it was weird for me because I David Fincher's my favorite filmmaker, and that was my
Yeah.
most anticipated film of the whole of London Film Festival. I came out of it and was like, I mean, it was good, but he's done so much better. Like, it's
Okay.
probably the most middle of the road Fincher film I've seen, which is so annoying for me to say because I was so excited for it. It is good, and like, if any, because it is now out on Netflix as of this Friday just gone. So if you do, at least the time of us recording this, if you do want to check out The Killer, it's on Netflix now, so go and do it. But for me personally, I feel like it could have done a bit more. So there's a mini review of The Killer for it, even though no one asked for it. There's a mini review for The Killer for you. But yeah, I think probably Barbie, Killers of the Flower Moon, Oppenheimer, and probably Maestro are probably like the four that I can definitely see being nominated. If Spider Verse does get nominated, I will be so happy because that is still I've seen quite. This year's been a great year for animation, but that is still my favorite animated film of the year, like without a
Yeah.
doubt. Like Elemental was gorgeous, Boy and the Heron was great, Nimona was surprisingly good, but Spider Verse just is still miles above the rest.
Yeah. Some of the stuff they were able to get away with in that film, I was just
Mm,
meshing of these different styles of animation with the different
mm,
characters from their worlds and all. It was
mm.
just really like it was crazy. I think it's the longest animated film ever, right? We've
Yeah,
never seen one over 2 hours, let alone two and a half. So
yeah,
that was wild. Like it was crazy.
yeah. Now that you mention it, I think it might actually be the longest. But again, it's one of those like few. This year's been a good year for like films that are 2.5 hours plus, but you happily want to rewatch them again. Like Mission Impossible, Spider Verse, Oppenheimer, even Killers of the Flower Moon is 3.5 hours, but I'd happily watch it all over again. It, I, I don't know what they're doing this year, but I'm just happy for them to keep doing that.
So long these movies, man. So long. For
Yeah. So on a similar note, going back to the whole kind of popular classic films, which we've kind of been talking about already, are there any popular or like glaring classics that you still haven't seen yet, off the top of
man,
your head?
darn. I guess when we're talking about classics, I mean, if we can talk about older films, probably
Mm,
Psycho. I've never watched that.
okay.
Uh, Citizen Kane. I've never watched that.
Mm.
Those are two I can think of. There's I know there's something else out there, man. Oh, I've never seen Gladiator.
Okay.
So yeah, so that's a semi recent one, 2000.
Mm.
Uh,
You might want to start watching that if the sequel's coming out. Well, they're working
yeah,
on it now.
yeah. I hear
Mm.
they're making one, so maybe I could do a binge. Like what I did with Top Gun is before I went to
Mm.
see that new one in theaters, I watched the first one on Paramount Plus, and then
Mm.
I watched the second one, and it tied in so well with that first one. So I'm
Yeah.
hoping for a similar experience if I end up seeing Gladiator.
Yeah, I highly recommend. To be honest, I recommend all three of those films because they're classics for a reason. But I think
Mhm.
if you're going to watch any of them, watch Gladiator as the sequel. I think is meant to come out next year. I know they've. I saw something the other day when the strikes were finished. I know they said they'd shot and edited about like 90 minutes of the film. So
Okay.
it's taking shape, but I think they've still got a little bit left to film. But Gladiator is so good, and out of the two older ones, Psycho is probably the one I'd recommend the most. Because don't get me wrong, Citizen Kane is very good, but it's a little bit overrated, just a little bit. But Psycho is great. and a classic for a reason. Like that one still holds up really well. Citizen Kane, on the other hand, is like, yeah, I get it. It's Citizen Kane. It's a yeah, just move on.
Everyone hypes up that movie.
Yeah, it's a weird one because when I watched it, I somehow managed to mentally like lower my expectations because I was like, okay, people say this is the greatest film of all time, but for the sake of me watching it for the first time, I'm just gonna lower the expectations, and that kind of helped because I just appreciated it a bit more. It's a I don't know, it's a weird one because you're not the first person to say that to that question actually, because George in the last episode said he hadn't seen Citizen Kane either,
Oh,
even though he owns the 4K of it, he just
he
hasn't
owns
had.
it. How do you not watch it and you own it?
That I can adjust to that as well. Though I have films that I've not seen yet, but I will get around to them at some point. It's
Oh
just a
wow.
matter. It's just a matter of time, and like that mostly applies to like the very long films. Like I've got Lawrence of Arabia somewhere on that shelf,
Somewhere.
but
Oh,
it's
that's
like
another one I
three
haven't seen.
hours. It's
Yeah, that's
like
another one.
3 hours.
That and Cleopatra. Haven't seen those either.
Yeah, I've not seen Cleopatra either. So I like asking this question straight after this one because it's funny. But what's the one of, or just straight up the worst film you've ever seen? I just love going straight from what's a classic you haven't seen to
Oh,
what's the worst.
so man, I have a lot of bad films I've seen. So if we're talking recent, one that still sticks to me is
Mm.
this astronaut movie that Brad Pitt did called Ad Astra.
Okay,
Horrible,
that is
horrible.
yet another example of a film that I've got on my shelf, but I just haven't watched yet.
Man, it was the toughest film to sit through, bro. I was struggling to stay awake. It was so boring. And I think it just was mismarketing because they
Mm,
marketed it as something not that. And
yeah,
I was so mad that I wasted my time watching it.
I remember
Uh,
people complaining about that. Like the trailers made it out to be like an action film, and then you watch it, and
yes.
it's like this deep, like
And
metaphorical, like thing.
the fact that you get one of the most charismatic, charming actors in Brad Pitt
Hmm.
and you make him dull and bland and boring is wild to me. Uh, that those Halloween sequels that the
Hmm.
dude who did Exorcist
Yeah,
did, man, those were dog. They were so bad. I didn't even watch the third one, but like
I've
I
not
heard
seen
that
any of them.
they didn't even focus on Michael. It was focused on this one guy named Corey or
Hmm.
something.
Yeah,
Michael wasn't really in it. The second one was laughably bad, especially
yeah.
the final shot had
Hmm.
some of the worst editing I've ever seen in a film. It was, dude.
Hmm.
I don't know how you go from that first one that they did was pretty solid. It was like,
Yeah.
all right, nice, and
Hmm.
then you go to this dribble.
Yeah.
It's wild. Hellboy is another one I can think of that I thought was
The
awful.
2019 one, right? Yeah. I just want to specify because like I love
Yeah,
the
yeah,
original
with
two.
David
Yeah.
Harbour. Yeah,
Yeah.
with David Harbour.
Oh,
See,
brilliant.
I'm pulling from 2019
Mm,
because that was like my most. That was the year I've seen the most films, so I had more to talk about there.
yeah.
But wow, ooh.
When it comes to the Halloween films, I've only seen the original from the 70s, and to be honest, considering
Oh, I've
how
never seen that either. That's
yeah,
another one.
to be honest, considering how mixed a lot of the sequels have been, and the recent trilogy has been like just panned by everyone, I think I'm happy with only seeing the original because I feel like I'm not missing much having not seen the others.
Yeah, no.
Um, but I it's interesting you mentioned Hellboy because first of all, I forgot that film existed, and secondly, I hated that film when I watched it in the cinema because I loved the original two that Guillermo del Toro did so much, and then I watched the David Harbour one. And I was like, what is this? Just
Hmm.
what is it?
Yeah. Ooh.
Oh God! Thanks for reminding me about that.
Yeah, no problem. I still won't forget the tomato reveal on
Mm.
on Twitter. It was like it just dropped straight to 0 or 9 or whatever, and I was like, "Wow, that's that
Oh God!
was amazing."
Yeah, there is a part of me in the back of my head where it's like I kind of want to rewatch it just to remind myself how bad it is, but at the same time, I've forgotten about it, so I don't really want to rewatch it again. Oh
Oh,
God.
and if I could mention a superhero film, I
Yeah.
have to mention Justice League.
Oh God. Yeah.
Awful. I didn't even watch the Snyder Cut because the cult
Mm,
that's there, I hate them.
mm,
But the Justice League is so it was horrendously bad.
mm.
So yeah, that was and seeing it not even hit a billion was fun to watch because everyone
Yeah.
was like, some of these people were hyping up 2 billion. It's gonna make
Mm.
2 billion, and it didn't even hit 700 million. Like it made less than some.
Oh God. Yeah, that film is
So
dreadful. I know you haven't seen the Zack Snyder one, but it's better. I can say that
I
it
hope it
is a
is.
lot better.
Yeah.
It's longer than it needs to be. Like it's 3 hours. Doesn't need to be 3 hours. But I think, I mean, it's not a film I plan on revisiting anytime soon. But seeing the Snyder version and just seeing that it's actually like a fully finished thing, that is how he wanted to do it, and then you just go back to the Joss Whedon one, and you're like, what was that? Like that
Mhm.
just. Oh, there's a. I mean, we could spend ages just picking apart what was the DC films, but that's a video for its own. That's its own
Oh,
video.
and I think I can think of one more film for this
Yeah.
year: Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Oh my
Okay.
god,
I'm still mixed on that one. I'm
awful
still
film.
mixed.
I was
Like
so disappointed.
I went in with an open mind and I came away thinking it wasn't the worst thing I've ever seen, but like that's also like not the best thing I've seen in the world either. Like it's I thought it was better than Crystal Skull. At least I can say
And
that.
that's where we disagree because I'm gonna say it. Crystal Skull was better because Crystal
Okay.
Skull you can still watch. I watched literally before after that. I watched all four of them with a friend, and I'm
Yeah.
like, I had more respect and I
Mm,
admired Crystal Skull more after watching Dial of
mm,
Destiny.
yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I thought like some of the parts in that movie are so goofy and fun,
Mm,
and I love that in my Indiana Jones movies. Like, what was that part in the bar or whatever? Get that greaser, and it's like na 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 na, and I'm like, that's amazing. The last I'd say hour where
mm,
they're going hopping from car to car, the
yeah.
ant pile, like
Yeah.
that whole the last part of that movie is great in my
Mm,
opinion. I think it's just so fun. It's classic Indiana Jones adventure.
mm,
The alien stuff is kind of goofy,
yeah.
but this movie did something worse with the time travel. So that was horrific.
Mm.
Uh, yeah. So,
I I d-
and I just felt bad for Harrison. He shouldn't have he should have just stayed because Indiana Jones 4 was a fine ending.
mm,
He got married with Marion. They walked out.
mm.
How they handled Shia LaBeouf's character in this new movie was embarrassing.
I,
Man,
that I'm funny you mentioned that because I remember seeing the film and I was like, I've heard they mention his character at least once, and then it is literally just in passing, like, oh, he died, and
he
that's
died in
kind
the
of that's
war.
it. Yeah, and that's it. And I was expecting them to do a little bit more with that, but it's literally just
Yeah, no,
a
the
line
movie
of dialogue.
was a bad movie all around. Uh,
Okay, I was
that's
genuinely not expecting anyone to say that on this series, but I'm interested that you actually have said Dial of Destiny.
I'll admit it. Yeah, that's because I don't usually get a chance to see that many films. So
Mm,
especially this year. So when I pay money and
mm,
I get something like that, I'm gonna really shit on it
mm,
because part of my language there. But also the Ant-Man movie that came out, horrible,
mm.
horrible. That's another one that was really bad. uh,
Oh God,
no.
I will admit, like at least some of the films, some of the Marvel films, anyway, in recent months, like Guardians,
The
or what
last
was
good one,
yeah, what was there's been one in the middle, isn't there? Or has it literally just been Ant-Man,
three,
Guardians, and then the
and
Marvel?
Marvel. Yeah, just three this year.
Okay. Oh, I thought there was one in the middle for some reason. I think it's because I literally just finished Loki season 2, and that is
Yeah,
like,
that's a show. Yeah,
yeah,
Secret Invasion as well. That's a show.
yeah. It just feels weird having these shows and movies. I lose track of them. Anyway,
speaking of bad, I didn't watch this movie, but I've
yeah,
seen so many clips of it and all. I basically have seen the whole movie. The
yeah,
Flash. Oh,
don't watch
The
it.
Flash.
Just don't watch it. I wasted good
You
money
seen
on
it?
that. Yeah, I wasted good money on seeing that in the cinema because I'd heard someone who I know saw it at like a preview screening for fans, and he said it was actually surprisingly good. I went into the film and then I came away going, well, no, no, that was horrible. That was
No,
horrible.
because it's crazy seeing people like and defend this movie
Mm,
because and I don't mean to poop on anyone's parade and all, but literally the main takeaway I saw from it is besides the horrific acting,
mm,
awful effects, and
yeah,
just what they did by bringing back dead actors and that
yeah,
CGI crap at the end. That's
yeah,
literally that's literally a main point. I pointed this out. A main point on why they're striking the actors because
mm,
of not using AI and protecting themselves against it. Because
mm,
they literally brought back Christopher Reeves and that first guy from
yeah,
the dead and
yeah,
brought their CGI corpses in the film, and they're
yeah,
playing this triumphant music like it's something like yeah,
mm,
and I'm like, no, this is gross.
yeah,
So why are people it's crazy because that's do they not understand that's just why they're striking? So
mm,
I thought it was important for this movie to bomb and flop and lose some
mm.
money to show
Yeah,
them no one wants this.
it was a weird one because I don't know what was weirder. The fact that like that whole scene played out in the cinema, and then you hear like Adam West's voice, and then you see like his Batman, and then you see Christopher Reeve, and it just was like, what are they doing here? And then like you see interviews afterwards, and Andy Muschietti is like, oh, it's meant to be bad. Like the CGI is meant to be like that.
Yeah, I saw that. I'm sorry, he's an awful director. You're gonna sit here and tell me that you meant to make something look like garbage? Like you're lying. There's no director in their right mind will be like, yeah, I wanted this to look like crap. No one does that. That's just trying to save face. It's
Mm,
so bad. It's
yeah,
so we're not even talking about the Ezra drama there. We're just talking about the
yeah,
quality of the film.
yeah.
Like, and I liked him. I thought he was a
Mm,
good director after the It movies, but I'm never
yeah,
watching his film again. Never. No.
yeah.
Especially how he tried to save face and be like, yeah, I'm with Ezra. I stand with him.
Mm,
And even beside all that, and the fact that he wanted to make something like this, like, ugh,
mm.
hate that guy.
Anyway, now is the big question that I ask everyone on this series because I'm always intrigued to see what films they select and for what reasons. Um, so if you were to be stranded on a desert island and you could
Ooh.
only have 5 films with you, what films are you choosing and why?
Oh man. Uh See, there's so many good films out there. I mean, I guess I
Mm,
guess I I have to pick a Marvel one. I'll pick Guardians 3. I'll just pick that one as recency bias probably.
mm,
Deathly Hallows Part 2 for Harry Potter.
good choice. Yep.
That's 2. You said 5, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
um, I'll pick Last Crusade, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade,
Yeah.
Titanic, and I'll go with Infinity War too. Why not?
Nice choices. I like that. And yet again, outside of like, I think because the one thing I think this is like episode 8 of this series now, and I said on a couple of episodes ago that like no one up to like episode 6 had chosen the same films. Uh, and then someone came along and chose someone else's film, and I was like, "Oh, you've ruined the flow." But you've chosen 5 that I honestly don't think anyone's gone for. Um, but they're all solid choices because I love asking this question. I say this every time, but I love asking this question because people are choosing different ones for different reasons. Like someone might choose 5 because it's the 5 films that mean the most to them, or someone I think even someone was tempted to do 5 films they had just never seen before because like
Oh,
you've got 5 films that you don't know whether you're going to like them or hate them, so it's a bit of a lucky dip in terms of whether you like them or not, and that will keep you entertained on that on the desert island. But Yeah, that's an interesting. I think Titanic's a bit of an ironic one, considering you're stuck
Yeah,
on a stranded island.
I did want to mention though, being on a
Mm,
stranded island, is
yeah.
there a cable or plug-in for the TV?
So, so George asked this in the last episode. He said, "How? What is the means in which I'm watching the films?" And
Yes.
I like to think of it as if you were on like a big cruise ship and it crashed, but the power is still working, and you take
Okay.
advantage of like the cinema on board the ship, and you there just so happens to be like a big collection of films on there. Um, so like that's mentally what I think of. There is that, or just a lone TV on an island.
Okay.
There's just somehow it just
I had to
somehow
ask.
works.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like Titanic's a good choice. I feel like the two you've chosen two very strong MCU ones as well. I feel like because you went for Infinity War, not Endgame, didn't you? Yeah.
Yeah, I did Infinity War because I loved how Endgame was and all, but just the initial shock of
Mm,
Infinity War, it just felt like a unique experience watching the heroes
mm,
lose throughout the film because they just make the wrong choices and just
mm,
seeing how Marvel was willing to go there and end their film
mm.
like that. It was a unique experience because we knew they
Mm.
were going to save the day and win at the end of Endgame.
Oh
But
yeah.
just seeing Infinity War, how it played out was just crazy.
Yeah, I also as much as I love Endgame, I feel like Infinity War is more rewatchable as well because of the whole like them teaming up in different ways, seeing them come together, how the story just generally plays out. I feel like I've rewatched Infinity War more than Endgame. I can definitely say that much.
Yes.
I've watched Infinity War like about 3 or 4 times, and Endgame I think I've only seen like twice in its entirety. But like again, that's not to discredit in Endgame. Endgame's brilliant, but Infinity War's great. I feel like Guardians 3 is a very strong pick, but if that was me, I'd just be like ruined every time I every time I watch it. I
Oh
just
yeah. See, how I am is I like angst and all if it
yeah
has a happy ending. And
yeah
I thought we got a happy ending. And seeing,
oh yeah
and seeing the end with Rocket and all and how like I was
mm,
really worried he was gonna die. I'm not
yeah
even gonna lie to you. Because I know James Gunn said that that's his favorite character and he relates to that character and blah blah blah.
mm,
So I thought since James was leaving, he's gonna take the opportunity to just, kill
mm,
his character off.
mm.
So I was really surprised, pleasantly surprised that no one died. Not even Dave Bautista, who trashed it on Marvel and said I'm done and all that. So I was
Mm.
really surprised.
I was surprised none of them died, especially considering a lot of those actors were only going to come back to Volume 3 because
Yeah,
James Gunn was coming back. So I kind of thought similar to you. If James is leaving, that's a perfect opportunity to kill like some of the characters if none of them want to come back without James. But yeah, I'm surprised that none of them died. I mean, I'm happy for it because I love those I
yeah.
love those characters so much, and I'm kind of
We're
glad they
probably never
didn't
gonna
die.
see some of them again, though.
Yeah, I feel like if we do see them again, it's going to be like for a very specific reason. So just to round things off, are there any films in the near future, say for the rest of the year? There's not much of the year left anyway at the time of us
Nope,
recording this.
because of
Uh,
all the delays.
yeah. But are there any films in the next couple months before the year ends that you're intrigued by or you're looking forward to that you can think of?
I'm not even gonna lie to you, man. The one I was really excited for, what the last one I could think of was Five Nights at Freddy's.
Mm,
Cause and I know that film got horrible reviews and all that, but it
mm,
was fun watching it. I had a really like I've
mm.
seen it twice now. I really enjoyed that movie. It's
Okay.
not perfect and all, but some of the people's complaints are so dumb. Like I remember IGN, they
Mm,
literally said it had too much plot. Like what kind of complaint is that? It's the stupidest. Like there are stick to games, guys.
mm.
But I mean, yeah, I guess for this year, hmm, maybe Aquaman 2. Maybe I.
Mm.
That's the only one I could think of. Like, what other films are coming out this year?
I mean, let me think. Because funnily enough, I had a similar conversation with George in the previous episode. Is that there's a lot of films coming out in the next couple months where I'm not excited for them. I'm more just intrigued, like
Yeah.
Disney's Wish or Wonka or Hunger Games.
Wonka,
Like,
there we okay. I
yeah.
want to see Wonka. I
Mm.
completely forgot about that. I completely forgot. Yeah, Wonka. I'm
Mm.
definitely intrigued for it because of the marketing and all. It seems
Mm.
like it's doing. I always respect it when they try to do something different.
Mm.
It looks like it's different from Johnny Depp or Gene Wilder's portrayals.
Yeah.
So I'm all for that, and it's kind of like an origin type story. It seems like a fun if it does it right. It seems like a fun
Mm.
holiday movie that you can watch.
Yeah.
That's what it seems like.
Yeah.
So as we've seen in the past, you'll have that one or maybe two Christmas type movies, not Christmas movies, but like
Mm.
that come out during the holiday season.
Yeah.
And when they take off, they take off.
Mm.
Because there are four movies I could think of. Two, and just last year, I think I talked with you about it: Avatar: The Way of Water and
Mm.
Puss in Boots: The Last Wish.
Yeah.
Two really different films from each other, but they
Mm.
both were able to thrive and make lots of money in their
Mm.
respective just by playing out. Even in the like February, they were still in the top five. They were
Yeah.
still playing out.
Yeah.
And
No.
the first instance that I was even comparing it to was Jumanji and The Greatest Showman back in
Mm.
2017, I believe.
Yeah.
Those films came out of nowhere. No one
Mm.
expected them to do as well as they did.
Mm.
And the fact that they both still, I remember Jumanji was in the top five when Black Panther came out.
Damn. I
That's
didn't realize that.
insane. That's insane to think about. And
Mm.
Greatest Showman was in the top 10. Oh,
Anyway, it's been brilliant talking to you, Sawyer. Let everyone know where they can find you on all the different social medias, and also like where they can find you on YouTube, etc.
all right. Yes. So it's really simple. My channel name, pretty much on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, it's Sawyer Sabol.
Mm.
And I keep it really simple. I just have it as my name. You can see me on YouTube. Like I said, I do have an Instagram where I usually, I'll try to link my videos and stuff, but Instagram's usually, I honestly have it just to talk with family and stuff because a lot of my family uses it.
Mm.
So, but I am on it. I try to be on it at least once a day. And then I have Twitter or X or whatever. So, so
We
I
just
am
keep
on
calling
that a
it
lot.
Twitter. Keep
But
calling it Twitter.
yeah, I am on that a lot, but I mean,
Mm.
I already talk. Like, I try to talk about films and stuff on that, but that's mostly just me, just posting randomness. So
Mm.
those are my three stuff you can check coming out on.
I know Twitter is a bit of a sinking ship at the moment, but I've met so many great film people through Twitter that it's just like
Oh, definitely, yeah.
I can't abandon it just yet. I need to stay
I
on
don't
just
think
a
I
little
can
longer.
either. Yeah, it's something that you're addicted to, which
Mm.
is sad to say, but when you're a part of something for so long,
Mm.
it's like maybe you'll get better. Just plow through. So
Yeah. If the ship's going down, I'm going down with it.
yeah, like
Linking it back to Titanic.
link it back to back to Titanic. I'll be the captain in the room
Yeah, just with the
where the
water
water
just
breaks
gushing it.
through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, guys, that was yet another episode of For the Love of Film. I hope you enjoyed it. If you liked the video, then give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And I will see you all in the next one. Bye.